And here we are, folks, the last day, the last build in pack number 17. It's flown by, as I said earlier on today, in the HKS drag tune, this time a fictional vehicle which is inspired by cars which were in Gran Turismo. I know for many of us, some fond memories in lower level racing in older games will include cup cars. The Beetle RSI cup car, the Lupo cup car, for maybe some the Micra or MMR cup car, and a couple of others as well. And this one is very much inspired by those. It's kind of a mix of the cup car days of old and some real life like Super Taiku racing in Japan, that kind of vibe. And for this one I decided to do the livery myself, so it's very Gran Turismo original race car inspired, as you can tell, and much in that same vein of the LM race cars, I've done 3 colour variations: British Racing Green, Red and Pale Yellow. All original mini colours to, again, kind of keep it in line with that vibe. So if you like the way it looks, of course, the link to my page is down below, just like with all of the other liveries. And if you want to go for something realistic or a different one, of course, support whichever livery you want from the storefront, if you will, in Gran Turismo 7. Now, as far as the build, you can see just now from the specs, it's not too crazy. It's light, it's a lot lighter than a standard Mini, but the power is 185, which doesn't sound too crazy. And even the point level, I mean, 489, that's not breaking the bank at all. That's barely higher than some road cars are anyway, like the Civic, which we recently had in the game. I don't recall that one being too crazy to begin with, and you can get that up to a similar level to this fairly easily. So this isn't like a wild car by any stretch, but again, I took as a main inspiration the Micra MMR cup car to be this kind of vibe. So that really was my guiding vehicle in terms of the spec on this one and the kind of vibe I was trying to get. So one of the things which I decided to do, as you can see, it's got stage 1 weight anyway. I just jump into the ultimate stuff. Of course, there's nothing done there. So back to the sports, stage 1 weight. This is the one thing I decided to do, and we did this earlier in the week as well for, I don't recall which build it was, but a different car, wherein I thought, you know what? I'd usually go for racing tyres, sports tyres. Why don't we try making a little cup car and kind of embrace the spirit of that by just keeping it on comforts? So I've just put it on comfort softs, or kept it on comfort softs in the case of this car, just to see what it could do. And I tell you what, based on how good it is with comfort softs, if you put sports tyres on this, or racing tyres certainly, the point level will be dumb on it for sure, kind of like the Motul Civic would be, but this thing would be properly quick through corners based on how good it already is. As far as the club sports stuff, we've got the stage 2 weight, the power restrictor and the ballast. For the semi-racing stuff, we've got the ECU, the fully customised diff. I've gone for, unsurprisingly, the fully customised manual box. Stage 3 weight, I haven't bothered even with the rigidity. As you can see, it does give you a good boost on points though. So that's part of the reason why I didn't, because if you want to get the extra body rigidity, it's not going to hurt the handling necessarily, but that point level difference could make all the difference depending on where you want to use it. So I'll leave that up to you. If you want to really keep it below 500, for example, with better tyres than I've got, that could make all the difference, those 2 or 3 points. So it's up to you. It certainly isn't a bad idea if you do it though. I've got the race exhaust, mostly for the look and the sound, the racing pads and discs, the suspension, of course, the clutch and flywheel. As far as the extreme section, of course, the steering angle adapter for that better turning. And like we already said, pretty much nothing on the ultimate section. So it's not that expensive of a build. It does, of course, have the wide body, as you can tell anyway. And again, as you can tell pretty easily, no engine swap on this vehicle either. That would kind of go against the spirit of what I was going for. So 489 points, 185 horses, 967 kilos. To me, that sounds about right for a little cup car, kind of a baby touring car vibe, if you will. So comfort softs are fitted. As far as the suspension, slight difference, only 1 mil between the front and the rear, 92 on the front, 93 on the back, 5 for the anti-roll, 30 and 45 for the dampers, 3.05 for the springs. Pretty big difference, unsurprisingly, for a front driver on camber, 3 for the front, 1 on the back. As far as the toe, again, huge difference. It really helps with the turn-in. Nothing on the rear end, 0.30 in on the front, which definitely makes a huge difference. And I would pretty much always recommend that on front-wheel drives these days. It definitely suits the physics of the game. As far as the diff, 555, so basically the only thing that this car has in common with the HKS drag car that I did earlier on today, because that has a similar approach with that car's diff as well. 220 on the auto setting. To be fair, that might be too long of a ratio for some people, but for most tracks I feel like with 185 horsepower, which is, you know, like Integra DC2 kind of territory, that should be good enough, but you can change it if you need to. No ballast, no power adjustment, no downforce on the rear. I personally don't like the look of the wing on this one. I don't think think it suits the look of the car. And I've got 100 on the front, which also helps the turn in anyway. It kind of keeps that front end diving into the corner, if you will. And over here, what we have fitted, which wasn't really very much, you can see. So, of course, we'll jump out to the track for our last time of the week and show you what the car is like, of course, in practice. The notes on this one are basically exactly what you would assume. It's very forgiving, it's super fun. There is, of course, still a bit of that understeer with the front-wheel drive chassis, and of course, the comfort tyres do make a difference to that. You put this thing on sports tyres or racing tyres, like I said, I haven't even tested that, but this would be a monster on sports, and particularly those racing tyres. You put this thing on racing softs, and it would be absolutely ridiculous. In terms of lap time, you're probably curious how it might compare to some other cup car kind of stuff. Well, as it happens, I did of course do the Abarth cup car quite some time ago on this track as well, and it turns out this is a spot on rival for that car. But here's the key difference. That was on sports tyres, so it shows the potential that this car has as a cup car, and particularly for under 500 point events. So even though I built this more so for like a fun, nostalgic kind of throwback to a car that was never in the series but looks like it could have been, it actually turns out to be a car which you probably could use. And as you would expect, we will of course be back in future with more special projects, so I'll see you then. I hope you've enjoyed the week, and hopefully next week, in fact possibly even this weekend, we might even have some news if we do get an official update in the game about what might come next week. Hopefully back to back, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. That's it for the build though. I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.